So good morning. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour, and I think we can start our online information day for FutureEO Pillar 3 Earth Action. My name is Rune Frobaghagen. I'm the head of the Climate Action, Sustainability and Science Department. And today we have the entire leadership of this department available to present and to discuss with you the content and the opportunities that exist for industry, academia, and institutions to participate in this part of ESA's Earth Observation Program. We have a number of presentations to share with you, which go per area of the of this pillar. And we will take, of course, also your questions here. There will be ample opportunity for you to ask your question to all of us. And of course, a fundamental feature of this online information day is also the possibility that we have offered to all of you to enter into direct discussion with people from our team on specific opportunities, specific contents in areas that are of particular interest to you. In that respect, I can tell you that we still have some slots ready and free for these so-called B2B meetings this afternoon. We will put a link in the chat of this meeting, such that those of you who would like can still try to grab an opportunity for a chat with one of us for the areas that are of particular interest to you. We are many people in this meeting. We have 649 registered participants as of this morning, which is a record, I think, and that's great. It means that there is huge interest in this part of the Earth observation program. And okay, we will go through all of this in some detail. And as I said, you will have the opportunity to ask your questions either directly after the presentations that we are giving, all of us, or in the Q&A session towards the end, or finally, of course, also in these B2B meetings. And that's basically it for introduction. I think we move forward with the presentation here. So the FutureEO program was one of the, or is since a long time, core. It's the backbone of the Earth observation program at ESA. It received a record subscription level at the last ministerial in Bremen in end of November. Since then, we have been working on the implementation of the work plans and the procurement approvals and all such things, such that today we are ready to present to you our part of all of this program, which is what is framed in red here. This is what we call Earth Action. Really, it is all about science, applications for policy, innovation, and the creation of business opportunities in this area. A fundamental part of this is that in FutureEO-1 Segment 3, which is the phase from 2026 through 2028, we have decided to merge three elements: in Earth observation for society, or the former Block 4, the CCI or climate space, as well as the Global Development Assistance Program under a single umbrella. And that's why also the way that we are presenting these opportunities to you in industry, academia, and institutions, in community in general, is presented a little bit in a different way than what you have been used to in the specific info days for Block 4 in the past, or information days regarding also the CCI, climate space, and GDA programs. For completeness, we are talking only about Earth Action here. We are not talking about the other two pillars. So the foundations part, which is dealing with technological preparation in general of flight technologies and instrumentation and such things, nor are we talking about missions in development or ground segment and operations. Now, Earth Action is strong evolution in the FutureEO program, where we are trying under a single umbrella to cover everything that we are doing with the data in order to enable positive action for the planet and for its people, for business, and so forth. So it covers everything from, well, the slogan that we use, we go from measurements through the development of understanding. That is where the science and application come in. We work on the capability to predict what is going to happen, to support sound decision making, and of course, therefore, as I said, positive action for the planet. So there is a trajectory here that we are following really, where the FutureEO program is really covering most of all of these things, going from the fundaments. So this is really the core part of the FutureEO program. It's a science-based R&D program where it's a strong focus on system science, on climate science, and of course also on the mission science linked to the missions that we are preparing. Then we are looking into the application domain, in particular the policy related dimension of that is really very strong, but also the value adding of what we can do by merging Earth observation with other types of data, models, and even socioeconomic figures, and so forth. There is a strong part linked to industrialization here, so really the competitiveness of European Earth observation industry, in particular in the downstream sector, but not only, is also very, very strong part of that. And fundamental to the narrative of Earth action is that towards the end of this process, we are somehow trying to mainstream the solutions, the technologies, and so on that we have been developing, either through non-space integrators could come from the international financial institution, for example. It could come from strong outside partners that could be either in the European Commission, could be in the United Nations, could be in the financial world, and so on. We have some examples of that. Or we could see a potential follow-up of the activities under FutureEO taking place in more commercially oriented program setting, which could be incubed, but it could also be other commercial programs in ESA or even outside of ESA, or simply directly with investors. So it means that the Earth observation program we're talking about here, Pillar 3 Earth Action, is actually extremely broad. I can tell you that in the past couple of years, we issued more than 200 contracts per year, and we signed contracts with the community. So there is a lot of diversity in this ecosystem. There is a lot of different things going on, and there should be opportunities for many. And we are seeing that in this Earth Action pillar only growing in the future. And that's why this Information Day is really important, because there is quite a lot to be said and told and sort of transported in terms of information about what is going on. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we have of course a work plan for Earth Action, for the pillar Earth Action, which is around these 6 elements here. This is of course also reflected in the agreement with the member states that are funding all of this, where we have a strong focus, as I said, on the scientific foundation. So Earth system and climate science is and will always be a very strong element of this pillar. Then the policy dimension, all the environmental policies that are making use of or have the potential to make good use of Earth observation for either their implementation, for their monitoring, for their definition, and so forth. This is a very strongly growing domain or application domain. And we see that a lot happening these days, that there are plenty of areas in which Earth observation is seen as an enabler for stronger and better use of policies in society, benefiting public administration, but not only, also benefiting the green transition, the green economy, and all of that. And we will have strong opportunities in this domain. Then we have a number of transversal elements which are linked to how we implement and how we deal with the community to enable all of this. First of all, in terms of industrial strategy and competitiveness, we of course see that the Earth observation sector, in particular the downstream sector, is opportunities here. The amount and wealth and diversity of data coming back to Earth from space is enormous, but there are still challenges in turning all of that into strong, or I would say stronger competitiveness of the European industry. And we see also the Earth Action Pillar as having a strong role to play in all of that. And you will see that also in the procurement opportunities and the projects that we will issue to you in the community. We see, of course, since the creation of the FELAB, but not only, that there is a strong potential for disruptive innovation, and it is growing in importance and gradually also finding its way into the more mainstream part of the Earth observation program. So disruptive innovation and also the digital enablements, all the tools and solutions that are necessary to support all the activities of the super active and super motivated Earth observation community that we are lucky to have in Europe. This will continue to remain a strong partner and a strong part of what we do in this program, and you will see that also here in the presentation that will follow mine. Knowledge exchange and capacity building is something that has traditionally happened in various parts of the program. It happened in EO Science for Society, it happened in Climate Space and CZI, also for sure happened in the GDA program. Now what we are doing is we are grouping this under a single umbrella, encompassing all of these activities together, and you will see a detailed presentation of rather sizable and major opportunities for all of that. And finally, topic D here, or transversal element number D. This is where we are working very strongly with partners in Europe, but not only, in order to achieve all of this. So when I showed you in the slide before how, let's say, we follow a trajectory from fundamental Earth science all the way up to mainstreaming of these technologies and solutions in other parts of society, as you move down that line or in that spiral, there comes a point where ESA is no longer fully in control of all of these activities, but we are rather influencers and working in strong partnership with others. And the objective here, of course, is in the name Earth Action. We are enabling, if you will, Earth Action with our FutureEO program, but the actual taking of action is not always done by ESA itself or even by partners that are under contract to the agency, but by partners with whom we cooperate. I mentioned before various DGs of the European Commission. There is things happening under the umbrella of the United Nations, and certainly also in the system of the international financial institutions. And there are plenty of things happening here in terms of the way activities that go beyond Earth observation are financed globally. And through the Earth Action Pillar, we are offering opportunities to European industry and academia to be part of this in Europe, but not only, also in other parts of the world. There is a strong focus on Africa, on Asia, in particular Southeast Asia, but also and also Latin America, for example. So there are plenty of opportunities here that are linking what we are doing in the FutureEO program with later funding opportunities that we offer to you through the cooperation that we also have with some of these organizations. Next slide, please. So what is actually happening in this program is that we are working all the way through this chain to enable uptake of the solutions, uptake of the value adding that's been provided by our super active and very high quality user community. That means all of you participating in this meeting today. And we want to do that under a philosophy of co-design and co-development. What does it mean? It means that we are continuing our practice of doing end user community consultations with all of you, with the expert community, which then lie the foundations for what we will be working on and what other fundamental requirements for the things that we develop. It means that we are no longer working in technology push style. We are, of course, trying to embed real user needs, real requirements from the field into the definition of this from the beginning. We envisage to develop prototype and large-scale demonstrations with this in order to show the true potential of Earth observation in all of this. That is the best way in our mind to make sure that those who will be asked or at least invited to fund the deployment and mainstreaming of some of these solutions later are on board from the beginning. There will be a lot of work on best practices and on capacity building with the community in order to support all of this, and you will see that also reflected in the invitations to tender that we will issue. So capacity building, but also technological or technical support in order to achieve all of this and to help the mainstreaming later on of all of these things that we have been developing together are fundamental to the Earth Action narrative and the Earth Action readiness, as we call it. And then finally, as you get towards the end of all of this, the adoption, the full operational uptake, and that could also be in a commercial sense, if that is what makes most sense, is not funded all by the FutureEO program, but we are working towards the enablement of all of this. And therefore, at the end of this arrow, we are seeing strong activities where we want to support that process such that later on we will have completed this cycle and being able to somehow enable a positive action, as we said, for the planet. All of this, of course, linked to environmental science, solutions, applications linked to policy for the environment as per our program proposal. I think that is more or less it. The last slide, I think, is for someone else to take over. So we have here in the coming few hours, actually we have a lot of time. I'm not sure we will use all of the time that is listed in the agenda that you have seen, but there is opportunity for Q&A, short Q&A also after each of these presentations. And with that, I think I will hand it over to you, Torsten, to start talking about the scientific part.
Thank you, Rune. Just a quick check whether you can hear me.
We can.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So my name is Torsten Fehr. I'm the head of the Earth and Mission Science division in ESTEC. Next slide, please. And I would like to outline you one of the drivers for Earth Action. So one of the drivers of Earth Action is the Earth Observation Science Strategy. So the Earth Observation Science Strategy basically articulates our strategic vision for EO science in ESA. It also presents the cross-cutting EO science priorities, which are responding to, say, all of the scientific and societal challenges that we are trying to address with EO in ESA. So we have developed the EO science strategy over a couple of years together with stakeholders, the science communities, also member states, also with experts that are directly helping us with this. And it's basically for Earth Action, the formulating the strategic priorities, which are directly developed from following the structure of the EO science strategy. The structure of the EO science strategy, as you can see also below here, is basically separated in what we call the 6 overarching science themes. These were defined together with our expert teams and are basically responding to the scientific needs that we are addressing within the science strategy. So we have on the one hand side the water cycle, but also carbon cycle and chemistry, energy flux, ecosystem health, extremes and hazards, and also interfaces and coupling in the Earth system. So these are basically the overarching science themes across which we are developing all of those scientific needs and all of those activities that we're having within the Earth Action, but not only Earth Action, but also in the wider sense for the FutureEO program. As another element in which we are structuring the Earth observation science strategy is what we call the strategic areas of action. And we have identified together with our partners 4 different, say, lines across we're developing the strategy. The one is the frontiers of science and discovery. The second is from science to benefits. The third, reducing critical knowledge gaps and filling critical observation gaps. And for all of those, we have identified for Earth Action 3-year goals. I don't want to go in details of all of those, but if you consider, for example, the frontiers science and discovery, obviously the breakthrough in the understanding of Earth system and climate science is one of our key objectives that we are following within the Earth Action. If you look into, for example, from science to benefits, the EU policy implementation roadmaps and guidance are other elements and so forth. So we have clearly structured the Earth Action within the strategic areas of action that we have identified in the EO science strategy. One thing which is important for us that all new activities will be explicitly mapped to the EO science strategy. This will help us to ensure that what we have laid out as strategic priorities is at the end also fulfilled. This holds not only, again, for Earth Action itself, but also for the overall FutureEO program. And we will not only map this, we will of course also monitor and evaluate this in the frame of Earth Action and to assess the impact that the program has in order to address the priorities that we identified in the EO science strategy. And we will also be held accountable for this in the workshops that we will be having with our participating states. So we will also ensure that there's a monitoring in place that really what we are implementing in Earth Action will also respond to the EO science strategy, which came mainly actually from the science community itself as well. Next, please. So I will be starting off with a long list of opportunities that you will see in the coming, say, 2 hours, 3 hours approximately. And the opportunities that I'm presenting are more focusing on what we call the mission science. So this is the earlier phases of a mission development, the creation of mission ideas, but then also the consolidation of the scientific elements of missions within the development process. The activities that I'm having here are explicitly within Earth Action. We have, of course, also activities for the maturation of the science activities and other elements of FutureEO. But here we are specifically looking at also elements which are directly supporting the EO science strategy. So the first opportunity that I would like to highlight is called AI React, and it will basically help us with the strategic assessment to evaluate the readiness of AI, of artificial intelligence, to support Earth system science and future ESA Earth observation mission concepts. Again, here we're looking at the early elements of the development. And the activity will assess the AI approaches across the EO science strategy overarching themes. So you see it's also structured along the EO science strategy. And it will be focusing on identifying where AI is already delivering credible scientific value, but also where important scientific and technical gaps remain. It will build a structured evidence base in order for us to assess how AI can help us here. And they will do this, of course, with scientific rigor, or whoever will be doing this will be doing it with scientific rigor, and always looking at the mission relevance in order to assess the AI readiness in the framework of the FutureEO investments, and then, of course, all of those follow-on actions. The core outcome of the study is a decision-ready assessment of where artificial intelligence can credibly strengthen our FutureEO mission science and planning, and where further evidence or development is still required. The activity will be in ITT, so all of the activities that I'm showing, and I think that holds for most activities, will be coming out this year. And this one has a target of approximately 400K. Next, please, Inge. The second one that I would like to bring to your attention is called Impact 10, and it will assess the scientific and socioeconomic impact of ESA's Earth observation Earth and mission science activities, again, looking into the early parts of the development. And this one will focus on activities in the FutureEO program as a whole, so not only on Earth Action, but as a whole, that will enable to prepare future ESA-EO missions connected to the EO science strategy. So again, we're making this very clear link to the science strategy. And we're aiming that it will deliver a consistent set of case studies demonstrating how foundational science research, mission science activities, and exploratory analysis will contribute to scientific excellence, community growth, mission definition, and also at the program level value. It will be a dedicated science, or will contain a dedicated science impact component, but also having this, say, more traditional socioeconomic benefits assessment using various metrics in order to see how we can bring this one forward, and how to see what is the uptake in international assessments of these Earth observation, say, Earth and mission science activities. Again, an ITT, which will have a total budget of 500K. And the last one I would like to bring to you, thank you, Inge, is a bit more on the science side. So this is going into the geodetic foundations for future Earth observation missions, with the activity aiming to structure, mapping, and prepare the geodetic foundations required to support future Earth observation missions and Earth system science. It is building on international coordinated developments. This is mainly going towards the essential geodetic variables, which are developed within the Global Geodetic Observation System and the International Association of Geodesy. And it will be translating these into ESA-relevant frameworks, which are aligned with the EO science strategy, but also in particular with the future EO mission development and planning. It is aiming to prepare the grounds for the integration into ESA programmatic elements. Digital twin Earth, you will hear a lot about this afterwards as well from my colleagues, but also explicitly at the ESA missions, such as the next generation gravity mission MAGIC and Genesis, with the objective of basically facilitating the effective use of their data and in contributing to the preparation of the final mission and data exploitation setups. This is a smaller exploratory study with 350K. So these were all activities which are aiming at the early, say, parts of the mission, developing the concepts, and then also further consolidating the science cases. And this is all from my side. And I think with this one, I will hand over to Inge.
Thank you very much. So Tos, can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, great. So thanks for this. So good morning, everybody. I have the pleasure to present some of the opportunities in Earth science, actually the ones for this year. And as Torsten already nicely presented, so it's all linked and based on the science strategy, which you might recall was published in 2024. And as Torsten also showed, one of the foundations is that frontier science and discovery. And so this is actually what's happening specifically also in the Science Hub here in Esring. So as also Rune already said, engaging with community is key and is the basis from which everything originates, for which then we look into new methods and observation products with the main idea to advance the Earth system science, linking also to advanced simulations and predictability, a big focus also on STEM training and education, and I come back to that. We have the open science tools and virtual labs. We do have a pillar actually in ESTEC with Torsten on the scientific campaigns. And then, well, we use existing missions, but of course, transfer to future missions is also key. So in the first part of the advancing these Earth observation methods, techniques, and products, here are already 3 opportunities for this year. So we do have FLEX, as you know, the EA photosynthesis mission, who was launched in 2024. And here we do have a study in which we're going to set a parallel of highly innovative studies. So the idea is to really look to the novel nature of that FLEX data, observational gaps, and also methods where FLEX may really provide a unique contribution. So we know this is an info day, so it's very good also to come in detail. So here you can see the budget foreseen is around 2 million euro. If we then go to the Earth Explorers, the idea is to have a set of parallel innovative studies also there with exploiting of the new Earth Explorers. And we will go to Earth Care, so linked to the radiation budget, and then biomass multi-mission with an overall budget around 1 million euro. So then in this part for the advancing methods, we also have the reconciliation of LRM, SAR, and SWAT altimetry. The idea is here to advance the understanding of these physical processes for the interaction of this radar altimeter with the ocean surface, and then also the impact on the retrieval of these geophysical parameters. So it's really to reconcile these different missions and measurements with a budget here of 700k euro. So for information, I don't think Rune said it, so all these slides will of course be available after the presentation. So as you know, the Science Hub is organized in these science clusters. And so for the ocean science clusters energy cycle, we have 2 opportunities. The first is EO for ocean heat content. So really to provide 4D ocean heat content estimates at all spatial and temporal scales, and really to improve the characterization and uncertainties of the EEI. Budget here foreseen is 800k euro. Then the second opportunity for the ocean is the AMOC. There's a lot of AMOC news lately because it's super important, as you know, that Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. So the idea is to really capitalize on the latest technology to develop indicators and metrics from the satellite observation. And also the variability across the different scales, model outputs, and ML techniques. So on all these, there's an overall budget foreseen of 1 million euro. As Torsten pointed out already, we have all these different, very specific parts in our science strategy. And one of them, as you all know, it's very important, is extreme and hazards. So therefore, there's 2 opportunities here. The first, it's called the Simul Earth Extremes. So it's about Earth intelligence and multi-hazards. So the idea is to have parallel activities to advance these data-driven understanding to really characterize extremes and multi-hazard risks, including vulnerability. So here, the idea is to use the novel AI, physical informed and hybrid modeling, and really to give priority to hydroclimatic extremes and also multi-hazards. So among which, as you can see also in the pictures, severe storms, floods, droughts, and hurricanes. Budget foreseen there is 2 million euro. If we then go to the geohazards, also there is a parallel research project advancing the understanding of the geohazards with focus on volcanoes, earthquakes, and landslides. And then also, as before, also multi-hazards. Priority there will be given to address these major questions driven by the science strategy, as was presented earlier. Budget here foreseen is 1.2 million euro. So this fits in the cluster on natural disasters and extreme hazards. So then back to the cycle, so the carbon cycle. So we have the terrestrial carbon cycle. There's 2 opportunities in there. So the first is linked on fire. It's called holofire because it talks about fire impacts on the Earth system and carbon cycle. And the idea is to advance toward a holistic understanding of fire processes and also the impacts using Earth observation. So what is really contribution of fire to the carbon cycle globally, but also for individual fires? So it could include assessments of the role of wildfire in the carbon cycle, air quality, black carbon, snow and ice albedo, ocean productivity, and AI-based simulations incorporating fire dynamics. Budget for this studies is 1 million euro. The second opportunity in this cluster is the Simul Earth Carbon, to have a novel data-driven carbon assessment to really advance toward a data-driven modular carbon model, and really based on Earth observation, maximizing the use of that novel EO data. So we have biomass, we have flex, we have the sentinels, and also, as you know, the incoming CO2M. So emphasis for these studies will be on the enhanced characterization of land surface processes, vegetation structure, and also land-atmosphere interaction. Budget foreseen to be spent on this part is €1 million. If we then go to the carbon cycle methane, also very important and very actual. So we're gonna have studies on the multi-mission approach for regional methane retrieval. It's really the idea to disentangle anthropogenic and also the biogenic emissions, because it's very important, as you know, on the CH4 global budgets. And there's two main topics we will focus on there. It's the combination of these atmospheric observations of CH4, CO-emitted species, and then also land EO products, for example, wetlands, to create these regional characterized methane products. The second one is to develop methods for the synergistic use of the modeling and observational data. So, for example, biomass to support emission allocation. And finally, also understand the detection and also the quantification of the GHG sources and removal processes of the GHG in the atmosphere. Mostly driven, of course, by the oxidation capabilities and for the variability in this atmospheric oxidation. So in this part, we foresee an overall budget of €1 million. If we then go back to ocean, so there's, you know, it's still the UN decade for the ocean. So a lot of studies on the ocean carbon also, to advance towards a novel high-resolution, data-driven, and also comprehensive estimate of the ocean carbon budget, the pools and fluxes, the fine-tuning of OA, and then also carbonate system estimates. So the main thing is also to address the non-CO2 gas fluxes. Budget foreseen here is €1 million. And then we have the EO4 MCDR, so the marine carbon dioxide removal, to really explore these novel methodologies and understand how Earth observation can help to monitor, inspect, and document these MCDR techniques. So to inspect also the related feasibility, efficacy, and also the risk versus the benefits. Budget there is €500,000. If we then go to the water cycle and hydrology, we have two opportunities this year. The first is towards a global assessment of anthropogenic impacts on the water cycle. So we want to advance the understanding of how human activities after the terrestrial water cycle can really be used by exploiting all the EO data to quantify and attribute changes in surface and also groundwater storage. So we're also looking to fluxes and to evaluate the sustainability of these trends at really high resolutions. So key process we could consider there are land cover change, water abstraction, irrigation, runoff research in natural ecosystems. So budget foreseen here is €1 million. And then the second one is Simul Earth hydrology, so data-driven hyper-resolution hydrology. Again here, to really advance a novel data-driven, so say AI-based, hybrid, or physically informed modeling system that really can reconstruct, simulate, and predict the hydraulical cycle. So systems shall be based on advanced Earth observation data, and then rigorous it really can have products on, for example, ensuring consistency across precipitation, evapotranspiration, soil moisture, discharge, and other parts. So the system and the data, though, very important, shall be open to the community. The budget foreseen here is €1 million. If we then go to the coupling, so the Antarctica InSync, as you know, ESA has a long-standing history of work and science in the Antarctica InSync. So it's a program linked and in the UN Decade of the Ocean, as I said, which started in 2021, which is an initiative from the United Nations. We also call it just Ocean Decade, as said there. And so the ESA science contribution to the Antarctica InSync is really a set of advanced research projects to address the key research questions identified during a preparatory phase, which had already taken place. And there was even a white paper linked to it. You can see the link in this presentation, to really undertake science investigations for using the Earth observation datasets, linking also to modeling and in situ campaigns planned in Antarctica to really improve the process understanding and also the characterizing changes in Antarctica to maximize the use and the impact of Earth observation data. The budget foreseen for this part is 2.5 million euro. Also in coupling, but then back to solid and magnetic Earth, we have two opportunities for 4D dynamic Earth and 4D ionosphere initiative. The idea is really to enhance observation, understanding and characterization of solid Earth dynamic processes, ranging really from rapid advance as earthquakes to also slow large-scale motions. The project should take the challenges by developing and also extending modeling frameworks to integrate multiple sources, seismic, gravity, and satellite observations to really have a good picture of what's happening in the interior of the Earth. Budget here is 1 million euro. If we then go to the 4D ionosphere initiative, it's really built upon the results of already some existing projects, as you know, within the activity of ESA already. And the idea here is to maximize the use of swarm data for really enhanced understanding, modeling, and simulation of the ionosphere. So it should be characterized also by ionospheric, but also magnetic contributions. So the budget foreseen here is also 1 million euro. If we then go to the cluster on land and agriculture and biodiversity, so these are the three opportunities we have this year in the science part. So the first is on energy, water, and nutrient cycles in agriculture fields. So we will link energy cycle, water cycle, and nutrient cycle. And the idea is also to advance the retrievals of carbon and nitrogen in soil and crop at field scale, including soil quality, with the use of flex data. Budget here is 1 million euro. If we then go to a bit wider, the monitoring of the heterogeneous agro-ecosystems, here to advance these methodological developments for complex scene assessments, multi-sensor approach, including very high resolution, hyperspectral, a budget of 500k euro. And then also for biodiversity change, we want to do an interdisciplinary assessment based on enhanced Earth observation quantification and understanding of impacts of drivers of biodiversity. So it really includes different understanding of ecosystem functioning, prediction of trajectories, and then assessment of integrity and resilience of natural ecosystems. Budget foreseen here is 1 million euro. So if we then look at the atmosphere cluster in the 2026 activities, we do have that series of Atmos conferences, which are very successful. So the objective we will have here is to advance air quality assessment within a multiscalar, multi-mission approach. There's a few objectives upset. So the first is a novel synergistic framework to explore different instruments, the advancement of key trace gas products, advancing also synergetic products, so with different data sources, such as atmospheric, but also land products. And then finally, to check to see if we can model better the regional transport of pollutants. Budget foreseen here is 1 million euro. And as you can see, based on the findings also of that atmosphere conference report with the user recommendations, which bring us back to what Rune presented before. So all based on the community consultation from which this comes back. So as I said in my first slide also, so it's not only about doing the fundamental science, the frontier science, there's a lot of emphasis also on education. So the STEM education, as you might know, I think the researchers in this seminar know very well, the Living Planet Fellowship, which is still there. We have these massive online courses and then a lot of advanced trainings, most of them hosted or in relation with the Science Hub. So the advanced courses are organized every year. So for these specific ones, I would recall also to follow up the website and then also the liaison with your national delegations, which we brief very regularly. And then, so these MOOCs, famous MOOCs, the massive online open courses, all is online and freely available. So if there are questions, also we will share the website where you can find all these. So the Earth Action website was actually set up. And so the Living Planet Fellowship calls is actually every year. So I think that was my part, and I'm happy to pass over to Clément for the part on the science of climate. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So let me just turn that off. Thank you. So good morning. My name is Clément, and I'm the head of section for actionable climate information at ESA, home of the European Space Agency in the UK. And I will be talking about climate science-related activities and opportunities in Earth Action. But first, some very quick background. Next slide, please. This figure depicts ESA's climate program, past and present. Since 2010, ESA's Climate Change Initiative, or CCI, has focused on the development and exploitation of long-term, global, satellite-based time series of key components of the climate system, also known as essential climate variable, the ECVs. Those satellite-based climate data record make it possible to assess the state of the climate so we know where we stand. We work closely with the modeling community, for example, for improving the predictions of future climate pathways, so we know where we are heading to and can provide early warning of changes, and most pressing, provide the transparent information, unrestricted by borders, to help track collective progress made towards achieving the Paris Agreement for climate, providing the crucial line of evidence for decision-making. The goal here is to support our member states' need, member state and beyond, for systematic observation of the climate system, meeting the requirement of the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, the IPCC, and national obligations for reporting under the Paris Agreement. We provide research and development and pre-operational development to maximize the value of information from European satellite infrastructure, as well as from international partner space agencies for operational climate services. Next slide, please. In the past 3 years, to achieve our objectives, we have developed many activities, projects exploiting those ECVs. Cross-ECV project to address specific climate science questions, interfacing, observing, and modeling communities. We are working very closely with the World Climate Research Program, WCRP, for example, in hosting their coupled model intercomparison project, CEMIP, as well as the Coordinated Regional Downscaling Experiment, CORDEX, since 2022 and 2026, respectively. And we study how Earth observation can help us understand tipping element of the Earth, climate change as a driver of biodiversity change, impact of climate on cities, health, Earth observation and adaptation to climate change, even solar radiation modification and climate campaign. The current ECV framework addresses 27 ECVs in roughly 30 contracts, being at different levels of maturity in terms of research and development and pre-operational development. Most of those contracts are ending this year, 2026, or beginning of next, 2027. So our first batch of activities under Earth Action is about the evolution and validation of a new essential climate variable framework. Next slide, please. The rationale for the evolution of the ECV framework is based on the evolution of requirement of major drivers in the International Climate Network. You have them listed here. The GCOS, the Global Climate Observing System, has reviewed and updated the ECV definitions as part of the currently ongoing ECV rationalization process, and we are aligning to the updated ECV definition and reorganization. We will take into account the recommendations made in terms of gaps and evolving requirements from the 6th IPCC assessment report, moving to the 7th cycle. Last year, at the UN Conference of the Party, COP30, a list of global goals on adaptation indicators enabling countries to track their progress towards adaptation measures was endorsed, and the evolution of the ECVs will take into account how Earth observation data can support the global, the GGS, the Global Goal on Adaptation Indicators, through using existing ECV dataset. We are also strengthening the link between the climate observation and modeling community. It is essential to identify and comprehend the underlying causes of climate change and for making the predictions of future climate pathways. Finally, a major driver remains the needs of the operational climate services, international and national. Next slide, please, Inge. So, given the evolution of requirement from major drivers, as just explained, as well as internal operational considerations, under Earth Action, it is proposed to group essential climate variables as follows on this table. And we expect the items on the second column of this table to be ECV projects. So there will be tasks that are common to all those projects, and they are listed here. Develop and validate algorithms to approach the GCOS ECV requirements. Consult with the key international scientific user community to understand and prioritize requirements. This may include backward extension of ECVs, gap filling, and generation of the related climate impact driver indices for climate science and services. Generate and fully document a production system able of processing and reprocessing the data with the aim of supporting the transfer to operational activities outside of ESA. Give more strength to the new ECV framework through interdisciplinary and cross-domain cooperation, and strengthen interdisciplinary cooperation between international Earth observation and climate science communities through involvement in major intercomparison or assessment initiatives using the collective resources from the new ECV framework. And finally, demonstrate the value of the ECV product in climate science and climate service case study. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Our intention is to, the one before, sorry, just to have the little label. Our intention is to publish one large ITT to cover all those projects, exactly as we did in the past for CCI, climate space. The ITT should be out in Q3 this year. I know it's a risk to say that online. And the idea is to place up to 20 3-year contract ranging between 1.2 and 4 million euro in the first quarter of 2027. Next slide, please. To be more practical, this is a schematic view of an ECV project where a project manager and a science lead are liaising with ESA and looking after 3 main domains of activities, algorithm development and software engineering, validation, and climate research group. Next slide, please. The role of the climate research group is to perform a case study on the use of ECV product in climate research and climate services. It will have to develop several case studies within a predefined list of topics we think are extremely relevant. Next slide, please. Doing that, we will ensure coordination of those topics under the Earth Action Science cluster, already mentioned by Inge. Next slide, please. And a special attention will be dedicated to expanding our work towards the most recent future missions as recommended by the ESA-EO science strategy. Next slide, please. The time frame for this activity is 2027-2029. Under Earth Action, we start with this because, as I said, the current ECV framework is going soon to an end, and the other activities currently under CCI and climate space are running until 2027-2028. So beyond 2026, we anticipate developing projects to support the WCRP Cordex office, delivering high-resolution regional projection key to robust climate change assessment and adaptation, prioritize additional cross-ECV exploitation activities to respond directly to identified climate community science requirements, and upgrade the precursor ECVs projects that were started less than a year ago. That's me done. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks a lot. So we will now be taking one or a few questions, also in the agenda for this block. My name is Maria Piera Padula. I am the program coordinator for FutureEO. Let's look, we've had one question from the chat from Anesha from Space Nova, who is developing autonomous AI logic for satellite collision avoidance. And you're asking regarding the AI React target budget 400K and impact 10. How does ESA view the role of autonomous safety protocols in ensuring long-term socio-economic impact of new missions, and looking forward to exploring the co-designs opportunity? So thanks a lot for the question. We will be, this will be answered by Christian Rossi and Torsten Fehr.
Thank you. Just checking that you can also hear me.
We can hear you.
Great. So yeah, I haven't introduced myself. I am in Torsten teams. My name is Christian Rossi, head of Earth Surfaces and Interior section. Well, thanks for the question. That's first of all a really relevant subject for our missions, especially in certain orbits, in lower orbits. Well, broadly speaking, I think this question it's more for other type of frameworks, like the clean spaces, our space safety colleagues. But let me point out perhaps 2 points here on what is Impact 10. So Impact 10 targets a set of, let's say, cases. We are still defining them. So I clearly see the socioeconomic impact here and of this case, this specific case. But this project is actually, let's say, targeting like a 10 or more set of cases that we're still defining. So we don't have this definition yet. We will have this definition in the let's say when the ITT is out. I take certainly this subject as a subject of interest. Regarding AI React, these targets, as Thorsten say, mission science. So that means like how we develop the science component of missions. So you can think to requirement gathering, you can think to everything that relates to how we develop and mature the science of it. And the subject is not related to that specific subject. So wrapping it up, I think it's a really relevant subject. So I'm glad that there is like this study going on. But these two projects, they're defined as a just answer. I don't know if Thorsten, you want to add something.
Well, thank you, Christian. I think that was quite comprehensive. The topic in the question is, of course, extremely relevant for us. Also, as we have more missions going into orbits which are impacted by, say, what is called super constellations from private or also institutional actors. Therefore, I recommend that you follow this up. We can also guide you there to see the relevant colleagues that are in particular concerned with clean space and orbits. It is, as Christian has explained, not fully in line with the AI React, but thank you for the question. It's in fact super relevant. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I think we will take one more question and then proceed to the next. So we have a question from Bala. Are all the different calls under the Frontier Science and Discovery Program planned for a duration of 3 years? Also, will there be any requirements regarding the starting and ending TRL levels? So Diego Fernandez will pass this question to you and to Inge. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so concerning this question, the answer is yes. Most of the activities will be implemented between 2 and 3 years. This is the plan, especially for the largest activities. Okay, so I can confirm that yes, the plan is to have activities between 2 and 3 years as the period for implementation.
Thanks a lot, Diego. So we will now move on to the next session, and any questions and answers we will tackle at the end of the morning. Thank you. B2Bs. Diego. Yeah. Okay, so as Rune presented in the beginning, we're going to follow the new implementation of the Earth Action, so a bit different for the ones who are very familiar with ESA already. To make this transition a bit smoother, I added also applications here because it was in the former programs always seen as applications. So I'm going to walk through the opportunities we have this year for the enabling policies. As explained already before, one of the 2 verticals under which Earth Action is really key. So how to link now from this science to action? So the idea is really to bridge the scientific knowledge, as you can see, and as you have seen also in all these opportunities and also the ongoing science, because it's a long history already in ESA, to really action. So to have evidence-based solutions to enable these policies, really practical impacts for society. So the goal of these applications of the R&D is to pioneer this innovation, but also reliable Earth observation solutions. We say it's beneficial for the planet, but especially, of course, in support of these policies. And if we talk about policies, we mean the ones on environment, climate, and sustainable development. So just to give you a few ideas, for people who are not familiar with these policies, of course, there's a wide range, and it's a wide name also of nomenclature. You have treaties, you have international policies, you have UN regulations, you have European policy frameworks, we have treaties. So some of these policies are binding, others are not. But as you can see here, it covers a wide variety of natural resources and ecosystems. And for all of these ones, but specific ones, ESA wants to help out in a very concrete way in order to enhance these policies, but also to frame them. Because, for example, we have the EUDR, which you might have heard of, the EU Deforestation Regulation. So also for practical solutions and using Earth observation to the maximum in order to come up with solutions. So the key characteristics of the project, and that was mentioned already as well, is really the active involvement of stakeholders and end users. So this really has to be seen as a co-development, co-design, as you could call it, but really from the start. So it's not to come up with a fully fledged solution and then bring to end users, it's really to design it with them. So in all the different phases, and of course that facilitates also the integration and the uptake, as was presented also before, of all these solutions into practical operational systems and practices. So there's a few project series categories that's specifically for people who are already aware of how ESA application used to work. So they were the World Series. You might have heard of these very successful project, World Serial and World Cover. And we have also the Engine Series and the People Series. So People stands for Pioneer Earth Observation Applications for Earth Action. And the difference between these are the scalability and maturity of the Earth observation application methodology. So then also depending on the integration readiness by stakeholders and end users, we divide between what we call early adopters and champion users. So what is this role here of this applied R&D? It's really based on disruptive research, earth science, as was presented before, also linked to other initiatives like the DGRTD, which we'll come back to later. As Clément presented, the sense of climate variables and these models, digital innovation, and then Destiny and DTE new capacity. So from these prototypes to pre-operation solutions with the end user involvement, as I said before, and following the FAIR principles, on which we will come back also in a minute. So what we want to get out of there is to mainstream the support with these stakeholders and the user groups to really make scalable acceleration mechanism, to come up with this commercialization initiative, linked also to Earth, national delegations, specific end users, and then coordination also with the Copernicus services. And we will talk later in the part on the partners also with IMPA and other European entities for the downstream services. So the overall procurements for this year, so this is the list, and then I will go through all of them with you just in a minute. So each has multiple R&D subjects, and this means that there will be separate contracts on these different subjects. And here you can go the list, but I will go now with you over this. You can see also here the quarter in which it's foreseen that the ITT will be published. So most of them will be still in this quarter, and then we have a few upcoming the end of the year. So I'll start with the first, which is called Essential Biodiversity Variables for the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework Indicators. It's a single procurement with a single contract. And actually, the closing date is exactly in a month, so it's the 20th of May. The activity specifically to support parties of the Convention of the Biological Diversity, the CBD, to develop Earth observation integrated workflows for the development of key essential biodiversity variables, so the EBVs. We heard a lot on ECVs, these are the EBVs, and then also the transformation into selected indicators for the GBF. So this is also the link for the ESA star. Duration here, 2 years, and the budget 1.2 million euro. The second one is on sustainable and adaptive agriculture solution. There will be 4 separate contracts, and as explained before, on 4 different topics. So the topics are crop yield estimation and forecasting at a parcel level. So this is one of the people series project, as I presented before. Budget is 800K, 2 years for the project. Then we have the next generation thermal products for crop health, also a people type project, 800K, it will be for 4 years. World Cultivate is to deliver a global policy-ready Earth observation cultivation strategy to planetary boundary pressures. As you know, we talk about these planetary boundaries and the pressure about it. So this world project wants to tackle this. 1.8 million euro for 3 years. And then World Irrigation, also under the World umbrella, to have a global solution for monitoring irrigation, water consumption, and water use efficiency. The budget here is 1.8 million euro, also 3 years foreseen. If we go to the urban, we foresee an ITT on urban development, livability, and adaptation. So also here, 3 different topics. So the first is a world project on world informal settlements, 1.2 million euro, 3 years, to have a harmonized regional to global Earth observation integrated methodology for mapping, characterization, and monitoring the evolution of informal settlements. The second one is a people type project on urban livability and adaptation planning. The budget is 1.2 million euro, 3 years, and develop the integration of flexible livability assessment maps and indicators by integrating different kind of parts like land use, urban form, environmental, key climatic, and also other adaptation monitors. So really to provide decision support for the measures of adaptation. The third one is on the mobility of a sustainable mobility urban then. So it's a people type project, 2 years, to have mobility patterns and also model split analysis for the allocation and the usage of urban public space, with, of course, the main focus on mobility in support of these sustainable mobility plans. If we go to the sustainable water resources and wetland ecosystem management, here also we have 4 topics. We have river connectivity as a world-type project for 1 million euro. We foresee 30 months projects to monitor river connectivity and flow alteration and identify also the restoration opportunities. The second theme is the inland water pollution, a world-type project, also 1 million euro, we foresee 30 months. The detection attribution framework for freshwater quality and then also link water pollution to the sources and drivers of pollutions in rivers and lakes. The drought risk monitoring, also world-type, 1 million euro foreseen, 30 months. And so the monitoring to detect and track the drought conditions for river basins and also supporting the climate resilient water management. If we then go to the 4th topic under this sustainable water resources, we have the wetland variables for wetland condition. We foresee here also a world type project, so 1.8 million euro for 30 months, and to assess the wetland condition and support conservation, but also restoration efforts. If we go then to the advancing sectoral atmospheric emission monitoring, it's a people type project foreseen with 4 separate contracts for 2 years and 800,000 euro each. And they're going to be a fixed call for proposal, for example, specific topic proposed by a bidder, and the objectives are the following. So the first is to advance greenhouse gases and air pollution emission monitoring. And the second one is to target sectors as we defined and as said before, linked to international but also European policies. So for example, using the IPCC guidelines for the national greenhouse inventories. And then the third one is to develop sector-specific information, so that, for example, activity data. So activity data, as you might know, is the data that a country has to foresee based on geospatial data to produce Earth observation-based policy relevant information. So that's for the atmospheric emissions. We have a call on adaptive forest management, AFM. There will be 2 separate contracts. So also again here, 2 separate contracts because there will be 2 specific topics. So the first one is the resilience, so the adaptive forest management resilience. It's a people type project, 1.8 million euro foreseen for 3 years. And to really advance that understanding of forest resilience and also pioneering methods to map indicators to show that the capacity of forest ecosystem withstands, how the forest can adapt, and also to reorganize these gradual climatic changes. So it's all in the policy framework of the European Union. And then the second part in this one is the regrowth, also a very burning topic. I would say there's a lot in the peer-reviewed publication about this. So 1 million euro foreseen there, so 2 years, and to focus on that forest regrowth as said. Building on all the research advances, because we know a lot about deforestation, but then the regrowth is often overseen. So it's really to target the policies of the EU and also international frameworks to monitor and analyze these post-disturbance, including natural or post-restoration trajectories of forests. If we then go to mineral resource management, so there we foresee an ITT with 3 contracts, again 3 topics. So the first topic is acid mine drainage detection to provide early warnings. The budget is 800,000 euro for 2 years. The second one is ecosystem stress monitoring and then also restoration to connect to mining activities along the full life cycle. Also there 800,000 euro for 2 years. And then the final one is detection and the mapping of critical minerals. A people project also 800,000 euro for 2 years. If we go to soil, we foresee a soil health parameter and sustainable soil management with 2 contracts, 800,000 each for 2 years. Same system here, there will be a fixed call for proposal with a specific topic proposed by the bidder. And the objectives are the following. It's really to make a robust, scalable Earth observation methodology for this large-scale estimation of chemical, physical, and biological soil health parameters, including soil organic carbon, the nutrient station, the pH, soil moisture, and to reduce dependence on in-situ management, but also to support the identification and improvement of the management practices in the European Soil Monitoring Law, as you might have seen in my slides of all the laws. So this is a very crucial law for Europe. The regional air quality monitoring will come with 2 separate contracts, 1 million each, 30 months. Also here, fixed call for proposal. And the topics are 1, to advance the monitoring of air quality at regional level, can be in Europe, but also other geographical areas. To target implementation of the international and European policies, so including WHO, but also the national emission reduction commitments. To engage with local, regional, or national air quality managers. To leverage on the wealth of the new atmospheric emissions, so as we have S4, S5. And to foresee a strong link with existing initiatives such as CAMS and also Fairmont. For the pollution attribution, we have the coastal and then the marine pollution. The single procurement with single contract. So there's 1 million euro for 2 years. So there we have 2 types. We have the coastal and marine pollution and the marine pollution. So for the coastal water pollution, the idea is to develop a detection attribution modeling framework to integrate Earth observation data, but also ancillary data to identify and analyze the drivers of water quality in coastal waters. Key points here, monitoring the key indicators of coastal water quality, eutrophication, surface water temperature, anomalies, and, for example, pollution indicators. And then the second key point is also establish a linkage between observed water quality patterns and the pollution sources. If we then look to the topic of marine pollution, the idea there is to have Earth observation data to develop new products, indicators, and tools in support of these marine pollution policies, among which, for example, the Euro Zero Pollution Action Plan, and with a focus on ship-based pollution. So then some publicity for some upcoming events. So as you know, now we call it Earth Action, but we have been active a very long time already. So we keep on having a lot of interaction with the communities, as said before. It's crucial also to engage with the communities. And so this is an upcoming event actually next week. It's called FutureEO, so Earth Observation for Official Statistics Reporting. I see registration is still open. And so the idea is to facilitate integration of Earth observation in national statistics processes and policy reporting. So it's really an idea to have more use of the exploitation of Earth observation data for this policy implementation and to simplify also transversal reporting. So you can see that we don't do it in isolation. So it's actually with a lot of co-organizers, as you can see, some UN agencies. We also have the European Commission and also the European Environment Agency. So it's taken place in Esrin, Frascati. So the weather is nice, so everybody's very welcome to attend. And then we also have a emission monitoring from space conference. That's a bit later in the year. It's going to take place also here in Esrin, the end of October. It's co-organized with EA and CAMS and the European Commission. So the idea and the purpose is to bring all the community together on GHG and air pollution emission monitoring. And the focus area is really on national GHG and air pollutants inventories. So also for more information, we'll take any questions we would have. I think it's too early for registration. It's only the end of October. Then we have an announcement that the abstract submission is open for the ESA Symposium on Earth Observation for Soil Protection and Restoration. That's going to take place also in Esrin in the beginning of November. So you're very welcome to submit all your abstracts. I'm sure on the link there will be also the deadlines, so please bear with that. And then the last one I want to mention is the first Sentinel User Preparation Coordination Workshop. It's going to take place end of November in Esrin to bring together actually all teams. So I said it's the first workshop, coordinate all the teams working on the many science and application specific advanced processing techniques. It's a unique opportunity, given it's the first of the series, of really have an update of the Copernicus expansion, also the new generation missions, exchange the knowledge, and then also shape upcoming sub-activities. So I think this was my last slide. I know we're a bit behind schedule, but maybe we can take a few questions.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks a lot, Inge. So we have a couple of questions. We're now going to take the ones related to this topic just presented, which is the enabling policies. So we have a question from Gottfried. On the urban livability topic, beyond the adaptations, these topics and activities also in strongly inform mitigation, such as climate action, emission reduction, decarbonization measures in various policy fields. Is there any deeper reason why you strongly highlight adaptation and not mention mitigation? So this is perhaps to be answered by Inge, and Giuseppe is also available to answer that.
Yeah. So thanks for the question. I think it's a very good question. As you might have followed a bit already ESA work, there has been already a big focus on mitigation actually the last years. It's not that we're not tackling it anymore, but what we do see is that for a lot of the mitigation problems, the uptake of Earth observation is already very much, let's say, embedded. And as you could have seen, some of them bring it up because there's one of the topics in the GHG, it's also for the activity data. So that's actually also taking up mitigation part. We do see that the research and also the uptake of Earth observation for adaptation is much less. So there's much more research to be done. And this is also why this is a big focus. But I also want to give the floor to Giuseppe Ottavianelli, who's leading the work, and we can give more comments on that. Giuseppe?
Thank you, Inge. I think you correctly captured the current status of the activities. So there are indeed some already ongoing activities. The livability part will also look at mitigation. Basically, mitigation and adaptation are somewhat the two different sides of the same coin. So this is very important. The additional stress and focus on adaptation is also due to the link of the current policies that are strongly putting an emphasis on adaptation. So these are the various points that you've already mentioned, and just complementing here with additional information. Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot, Giuseppe. We will answer the other questions either via text or at the end of the morning session. So we will now break for coffee break and come back at 10:40. Thanks a lot. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for the break, and we will resume now with the industrial strategy and competitiveness. Giuseppe. You're muted.
No, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Okay. Now we hear you.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's fine.
Good morning. My name is Giuseppe Borghi. I'm the head of the FILAB. So I will introduce you the industrial strategy aspects, and then my colleagues Gordon Campbell will introduce the industrial competitiveness. Next slide, please. So just a few words about the context. So the FILAB is the innovation lab of Earth Observation Directorate. And our goal, our mission is to accelerate the future of Earth observation, in particular with transformative or disruptive innovation and commercialization action. Our goal is to strengthen the ESA member states' competitiveness worldwide. We are the only organization in ESA where you can cooperate with us from blue sky idea, really unqualified idea, move these toward, let's say, the direct implementation and impact, and in particular in the commercial context, we are also home to of the InCube program that brings you to the market. Next slide, please. Next. So we are based in Frascati, and we have been established in 2018. We are about 50 members, and we work quite a lot under strategic partnership with research center, industry, and other agency. Next. So we are an open lab. We have let's say, core staff of people, but we have also about 15 research fellows and about 15 visiting researchers, so people coming from outside ESA that want to collaborate with ESRIN people and stay with us for a period of from, I don't know, a couple of weeks to a few months. Next, please. Up to now, we have hosted about 210 people from 2020 from 33 nationalities. Next, please. So some of the successes of FILAB. So we have up to now 21 strategic collaboration in place. Next. We have published more than 200 publications on peer-reviewed conference. We have a program of 20 visiting professors. Next. As I said, hosted many people, about 140 visiting researchers. We have contributed to 16 satellites, and I will show you a bit later. InCube program has reached up to now 355 cumulative subscription, and we have in the pipeline more than 210 activities that has been co-founded in average 62%. Next. And the things probably we are most proud of, company that has worked in InCube have risen in the last 5 years, more than 600 million of private funding. This is the fleet of satellites that we have supported from FISAT-1 down to the last year we've launched, our partner launched 4 satellites. Next one. So we are organizing in 2 offices, the Explore office, which is led by Claudio Jacopino, and the Invest Office, which we focus now, which is led by Michele Castorina. Next one. So InCube, just to put it in context, is a commercialization program. And if you look in this diagram about how ESA contributed to the Earth observation company life cycle, if we consider, let's say, activity that has with a very low TRL and no business readiness, so our technology push, we have several activity or several programs that can support this, in particular FutureEO and Earth Action we are discussing now, and industrial competitiveness that will be introduced by Gordon later, or TDE and GSTP. If you reach with the activity above TRL 7 or 8, then there are other programs like the data buy from CCM and TPM or ASIS and BUS. InCube is the bridge between the low TRL and the low BRL to the data and asset exploitation. Next, please. So InCube, as I said, is a commercialization program. Next, please. Is an industry-led program where ESA run as, oh, sorry, one too much. Okay, as ESA is running as a, let's say, risk reduction partner, not as a customer. The industry is in the lead. It focuses on co-funding any innovative and commercially successful product and services, applying for anything, and is an open call. And inside Earth Action, what we do preparatory activity that later on can see their, let's say, future inside one of the commercialization action, while InCube is one of that. Next, please. So going back to Earth Action, the group of activity that opportunities that we are talking now about industrial strategy aims to gain, let's say, deeper analytical understanding of the Earth observation market, and in particular, to make an overview of the global Earth observation market and emerging opportunities, to make, let's say, analysis of Earth observation verticals to support evidence-based decision for new investment. We will also procure the second edition for what is called the EO Makerspace, which is a prime contractor-led agile mechanism to develop, let's say, innovation, disruptive innovation close to market. And finally, we want to measure and communicate the economical, industrial, and societal impact of the InCube initiative. So the summary of the opportunities, next slide, please. So we planned in Q1 to issue an ITT on the global Earth observation market studies. We will run in the next 3 years several commercial on-demand studies on Earth observation vertical, and then first one will be in Q4 for about 200 kilo euro. EO Makerspace will be 500 kilo euro, and InCube assessment will be about 150 kilo euro in Q2, Q3 this year. And with this, I've concluded my contribution.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Is that? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to follow on just going through the activities that we're planning for this year on the industrial competitiveness side of things. So getting things into building company capabilities, addressing blockages to uptake, etc., and also addressing the resilience issues linked to these type of capability developments as well. Overall, main objectives on the industrial competitiveness side. Firstly, really looking at the start of things, if you like, getting stuff out of the universities into the European companies. So that may be advanced processing methods. You've seen some of the stuff already, like micro Doppler processing, inverse SAR, etc. Not just SAR, also optical, infrared, hyperspectral, really advanced processing stuff. Looking at how we integrate Earth observation with non-traditional decision support systems. So it may be predictive analytics tools like agent-based models, fuzzy graphs, as well as, really importantly, fusing Earth observation and non-Earth observation data. and all of that integrated into novel visualization approaches. Pushing the innovative ideas and cutting-edge developments, in particular, going beyond convolutional neural net-based approaches for machine learning. Looking at, I mean, overall, a lot of the stuff that we do is really going to pre-commercial, if you like, and then looking for routes to commercialization through other programs, whether that's Incubed, whether that's BAS, whether that's non-ESA funding, really preparing the ground and stimulating the transfer over there. Stimulating enhanced cooperation between the Earth observation and non-Earth observation data providers, really trying to break out of the traditional geospatial information market perimeter and into a wider market opportunities for more general analytics issues, and look at the potential associated with existing and future missions and addressing best practices for the uptake of Earth observation from these data sets that is consistent with the working practices and constraints and legislation, etc., in these target markets. In terms of the technical capabilities we're looking at, I mean, we're really looking at the whole range of applicable technologies. We're looking at established Earth observation systems, that's national systems, Copernicus, etc. New Earth observation systems, whether that's new capabilities coming along at national level, private sector systems, individual and constellations, new data collection platforms, in particular high altitude civil satellites and autonomous systems, whether ground-based, underwater, water surface, etc. Transponder technologies, I mean, we've been working with AIS for a long time, but there's still additional things we can do for things like directionality, frequency difference of arrival, etc. But other transponders as well. I mean, we've really not scratched the surface of the massive availability of vehicle transponder data, IoT sensor networks, etc. We're also doing a lot and looking to do more on how we integrate unstructured data like open source intelligence and media data. So that's, you know, in terms of the data. In terms of the processing methods, really pushing the perimeter on innovative processing methods. So two examples there are the ESA and polarization, but we're looking at an awful lot more. Leading edge artificial intelligence, the advanced predictive capabilities that I was just talking about, and also underpinning all of these things, next generation ICT, so things like super fast databases to support both situation awareness and predictive analytics. And obviously that combines with the emerging technologies like digital twin capabilities coming through, both for the Earth system process characterization, and increasingly, if you look at the amount of data, the revisit and the spatial resolution, we start getting much better handles on human system processes as well for things like economic activity characterization, public health, etc. So these are the range of technologies we're looking to be integrating into the industrial competitive landscape. The actual tenders for this year, and that's the list there. So firstly, some of these things were delayed from the work plan for last year. This is the first one is analytics support for industrial operations adaptation. We're looking at two priority markets here. One is steel, one is commercial agriculture. This is not just we specify the domain and you come back and do what you like with reference to these things. We've been working with these sectors. We have a priority set of analytics gaps that these guys need to understand for the evolution of their manufacturing processes, their supply chain, their positioning in the market, etc., all with respect to stressors like climate change, the perception of some of these activities in markets, etc. So how do we ensure these things? And I'll come back to that in a bit more detail in the next couple of slides. We have another contract or another tender starting two parallel contracts. This is sort of pathfinder, if you like, if looking at the fusion of EO-derived information and autonomous systems. So that's things like robotic platforms, whether that's on land, at sea, whatever. The agenda here is, if you think about the evolution of market sectors like transport, etc., there's a massive move expected to things like autonomous vessels for transport, autonomous land vehicles as well. So I mean, a lot of areas are going to go towards more autonomy, and we really need to be looking at how we integrate wide area information from satellite data with the immediate surrounding situation awareness from the autonomous systems. And this is a first approach for looking at how this fusion can work ensuring that we're improving the management of these systems. So we'll start two parallel contracts. One is looking at maritime areas, one looking at land areas. But you know, if you've got other elements in there, by all means, put something in and we'll look at it. Third line is small satellite fitness for purpose. This is we do one of these tenders every couple of years. We'd hoped to do this last year, but again we were delayed. So the first thing we're looking at, definitely looking at the impact of thermal infrared constellations. The idea here is private sector operators. You have their business, have their investors, etc. That's all fine. In a lot of cases, these type of data sets are interesting for other customers as well that are not easily addressable by the companies themselves. So we're supporting how we can expand the interest and the potential uptake of these data sets while not interfering with the core business of the private sector operators. So like I say, thermal infrared is of interest to a number of stakeholders we're working with. Also, radio frequency signal detection is another area that is of interest there. We talked about, or I talked about, looking at addressing blockages to market uptake. So this is a type of tender we do every couple of years. So again, we're looking at two sectors here. The issue is Earth observation derived information may be really cool, it may be cheap, whatever, but if civil engineers or whoever go outside accepted best practices in their sector, and something goes wrong, they lose their professional indemnity. They may have legal problems, etc. So we're looking at addressing these sorts of issues and getting the EO-derived information really accepted as a standard practice in these domains. And the two elements we want to look at this year, one is auditing carbon credits. So we're not looking at the really precise measurements of above ground biomass or anything like that. It is the auditing process that happens after that with the accounting companies, etc., as well as industrial safety and the issues associated with that. We'll take forward the activity we're running this year on EO veracity. So that's looking at how do we demonstrate that the information products being generated with the EO data are what we say they are. And so that's looking at, so what the ongoing activity is looking at the entire information generation chain from level 2 products. So it's the feature extraction, data fusion, machine learning algorithms, training data, etc. All of the points of the information generation chain that can be subject to either malicious or non-malicious unintentional modification. Looking at what does that impact look like, how can we detect it, how can we mitigate it, etc. So that's the theory going on now. And we'll have a tender looking at test cases to try some of the findings out coming up in the second half of this year. And lastly, we're looking at putting in place an advanced water management facility addressing Central Europe. That's quite a large activity looking at a combination of improved flood preparedness and impact assessment, as well as general water management issues moving into the Danube area. That's just the sort of thing, just for a bit more on the adaptation things I was talking about. We're looking at progressively looking at all of these sectors. We start, like I say, with the steel and dairy agriculture, but progressively we'll be looking at all of these domains where there is problems with, like I say, the manufacturing, sustainability, the supply chain, operational viability, etc., due to a whole range of changing environmental and demographic and perception issues. And just on the two that we're talking about, so in the steel, we're looking at things like the issues associated with new energy sources. So, I mean, if we move away from coke-based furnaces to alternative energy sources, if we use electric furnaces, we don't get up to high enough temperatures for the iron to be extracted from the ore. So we need to be looking at something like hydrogen, which means moving hydrogen around, storing it, etc. The supply chains are not super resilient to climate change. Access to raw materials is, I mean, this is in the news quite a lot. Finished products, I mean, if we've got a change in precipitation conditions, construction processes involving steel have to change, etc. So all of these analytics need to be brought into the decision support and planning systems for the overall steel industry. Likewise for the dairy farming, a whole range of issues there. From competition for land use, animal welfare, emerging zoonotic disease exposure, energy-intensive production processes, as well as temperature-sensitive production processes, and also competition with low-cost alternative protein sources like insect farming. How do we demonstrate that the dairy farmers have happy cows, etc., and they remain competitive in high-value markets like high-protein products? So that's the type of thing we're looking for in terms of the analytics there, to be precise. In terms of resilience, we've got three main activities. One is on new systems and methods. We do these tenders once every couple of years. I've listed the elements in there as a single one, but we're going to split it into two, one for the SAR-based, one for the optical infrared. So we're looking at a range of issues already. So things like shortwave infrared for maritime surveillance, in particular automatic detection of at-sea transfer of oil, given that the sea doesn't really reflect shortwave infrared. We think the contrast should be good for that type of thing. Machine learning methods for feature characterization in optical shadow in very often nadir optical imagery. Also on the optical imagery, low light level feature characterization. This is supporting both private sector constellations where the overpass time is less than ideal for the optical interpretation, but also, we're just starting dedicated campaigns with Sentinel-2 as well, looking at nighttime Sentinel-2, so supporting this, the analytics supporting that type of data availability would be something to think about there. Sensor fusion for data enhancement, in particular multispectral for super resolution enhancement of thermal infrared. Neuromorphic processing is also an area we'll be tendering, both for enhanced interpretation of video SAR data, as well as low contrast feature extraction in thermal infrared data. And then we've got the consolidation of the SAR activities we've already been starting. So in particular, long wavelength SAR, like L-band SAR, the foliage penetration, ground penetration, etc. How do we process these type of things? The inverse SAR, multistatic and microdoppler and distributed sensing for enhanced target characterization. And also how we integrate these data into advanced modeling methods like graph neural nets, agent-based models, and fuzzy graphs, etc., for process characterization. We'll be doing some large activities on new application and services verification. So this will include some regional security facilities. So this is really R&D, bringing in a portfolio of new innovative analytics layers, both analysis and predictive analytics. So in terms of regional, we'll be looking at the Baltic region, the Arctic region, the Eastern Mediterranean, Black Sea as top priorities there. We'll be looking at domain. We'll have the opportunity to do domain-focused developments as well, in particular next generation humanitarian aid and disaster response, really trying to move beyond the current latency and limitations on information content that is inherent in the current emergency response capabilities. How do we get much, much faster and much more comprehensive information and much more comprehensive background information that's a reference against which the analysis is done, as well as consolidating the activities we've been doing on security of undersea fiber optic cables. So that's a combination of things like SAR, microdoppler, and distributed acoustic sensing, and really looking at how we characterize threats to that sort of infrastructure. And then we'll continue the activities, expanding that for what we're doing on international law enforcement support as well, in particular working with the ICC on crimes against humanity, UNODC and Interpol on drugs and terrorism, organised crime, and again, in the usual suspects as well on counter-proliferation as well. And lastly, we've got an activity planning looking at, all of this is the processing and analysis. What we want to be able to do as well is look at how do we make all this much more easy to understand by non-expert stakeholders. So we're looking at how we integrate Earth observation and open source intelligence into some of the standard investigative support tools that these sort of stakeholders are using. I'll close with two events that we're organising. So the first is the Insight Workshop. That's the 11th and 13th of May here in Ezrin. That's the opportunity for everybody that's been working on the advanced processing techniques, whether it's radar, optical, thermal infrared, hyperspectral, etc. This is really, we hope this becomes a regular event. We've got quite a lot of subscriptions already. This is really taking stock of the state of the art and looking at this is our development agenda going forward from here. Are there gaps? Are we doing things that people think are not that worthwhile, etc.? So if you want to be involved in that, come along, give us your opinion, see where the current state of the art is. And lastly, after the summer, 29th of September to 1st of October, again here in Esrin, we have a joint activity with the Joint Research Centre and UN Office of Drugs and Crime on the use of Earth observation for characterising and investigating environmental crimes. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gordon and Giuseppe. So we will now be taking some questions. I see that at the moment there's no questions online. So I suggest we move forward with the next topic. And if you have any, just please put them in the chat and we will address them after the next slot, which is again on one of the transversal elements, disruptive innovation and digital enablement, and it will be presented by Giuseppe Borghi and Inge Jonker. Giuseppe.
Okay, let me check if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So next slide. Okay, disruptive innovation refers to the other office of the FILAB, which is the Explore office, where we have a team of technology innovators and we use as innovation seed funding Earth Action that we are discussing today. So next slide, please. So the focus of this activity is around what we call disruptive or transformative innovation. So what is not the scope of the FILAB is incremental innovation. Next slide, please. Next one. So there are three pillars of technology that we follow. So I would say the great majority of the things we do is in the pillar we call augmented intelligence, which is foundation model, digital assistant, and twin, generative AI, physics-informed machine learning, all variation of artificial intelligence. The second pillar is innovative computing paradigms, which is cognitive space, a lot of onboard AI, quantum computing, neuromorphic, biocomputing, computational imaging, and all these new paradigms of computing of data. And the third one that we call generically other transformative innovation are virtual immersive visualization, Web 3.0, DLT, quantum information theory, and all other technology that could be disruptive for Earth observation sector. Next one, please. So we use as a modus operandi 3 steps of explore, then capacity building, and then deliver an impact. And we perform quite a lot of uptake and community activity. And as I said before, we are an open lab, so we host, we welcome people coming from outside ESA to work with us and with ESA in general on these topics. We run quite a lot of challenges, sprints, and hackathon. The innovation we develop together with our partner apply to everything, flight hardware, flight software, downstream application, end-to-end system, and innovative business models. Next one, please. So as I said, we have 3 pillars: augmented intelligence, innovative computing paradigm, and other transformative innovation. And what we are trying to do is to converge all this kind of innovation toward 2 main, let's say, landmark activity. One we call a World Agentic Engine. I will describe a bit more is a matter of procurement this year. And the second one as well is the Cognitive Cloud Computing Space EO Cognitive Lab, 3CS Cognitive Lab, as we call, and also this one I will explain a bit later is another one subject of procurement, so it's an opportunity. Next one, please. We are part of a global innovation ecosystem with, let's say, supporting many global events. We work with many different NGOs, with investors, with private and public investors. We collaborate transversal, of course, in ESA with several. As a director, we support the ESA FILAB net, which is managed by CSC directorate, but we are the point of contact, the focus on Earth observation, and many, many different research centers. Next one, please. It's easy to collaborate with the FILAB, so we distinguish 2 different ways. So shared mutual interest without exchange of funding. So the primary one is visiting researcher or being a visiting professor. We host several research fellow, PhD and YGT, or founded through what we discussed today within Earth Action, so procurements, Incube, Open Space Innovation Platform, or the Earth Observation Science Society for Society Open Core, much less on GSTP and TD. Next one, please. So the focus for 2026 on disruptive innovation opportunity are, let's say, cognitive cloud computing in space, the EO Cognitive Lab. We want to start the design and development of this lab, and I will give you more information later on. Several are around geospatial foundation model, where we have run many of these in the past, and we want to progress in the SAR and in multimodal information. We will tackle several aspects of agentic AI and decision intelligence. We are also working together with CIS, with the Climate Office and Clement, working on AI for climate, and finally, physics-informed machine learning to support advanced scientific modeling. Next one. So these are the list of the opportunities for the period. So EO Cognitive Lab, as I said, is design development of a 3CS, or Cognitive Cloud Computing in Space mission. This will be probably around 10 million procurement going up in the future. Around geofoundation models, we will work around decentralized AI, and the second one for about 400 euro opportunity, and the second one on embedding at scale, another 400 euro. On agentic AI, we will procure a prototype development for what we call the World Agentic Engine for about 3 million. I'll give you more information later on. On AI and decision intelligence, we want to study this technology and see methodology that could be applied in Earth observation for about 150 euro. And again, agentic AI for specific economic sector will be around 400 euro. Next one, please. Then we have an activity on ECV, so together with Climate Office for about 1 million, and another one with the Climate Office to demonstrate the advantage of, let's say, extended reality and the modern natural language processing to present and understanding the complex AI climate data. And finally, for around 600 euro, then there is an activity on physics and for machine learning for about 400 euro. Let me give you, next slide, please, a bit more information on the major procurement. So the first one is, as I said, the EO Cognitive Lab. This is an activity that will be run in cooperation with the other department of EOP, which is called EOP-F, and is a joint effort around FISA3 and 3CS. And the goal is to design and build a constellation of satellites that will embed, let's say, the core of all the disruptive technology we are experiencing on ground. So for sure, artificial intelligence, for sure, cloud computing, but also many others, with the goal to develop an experiment facility to study new operative model triggered by this technology. So this will be procured in Q4 2026. And as I said, the budget will be around 10 million. Next one. The second major procurement is the World Agentic Engine. Here the goal is to, let's say, support the industry in developing a system that is able to take, let's say, the value generated by the European data on European facility to, let's say, build an agentic system where both geospatial data but AI models are integrated and orchestrated and economically rewarded to deliver, let's say, economical and societal benefit based again on data and infrastructure which are European. Next one, please. This is the activity around generative AI for ECVs and non-observable ECV. Here, the goal is to use generative AI to fill observational gaps and simulate climate data which are missing from the current, let's say, assets we are flying, and also generative AI to generate ECV which are not measured by satellites. And this will be a procurement of about 1 million. And I think this one is one that conclude my contribution. Ah, no, sorry, there is the last one. Just a mention of all the events that we are supporting. We have just concluded the ECNWF and ESA machine learning workshop. Here there is a mistake. So in the 12th and 14th of May, we will have the commercialization forum in Seville. So not in April, but again, 12th and 14th of May, you will see in the graphics below. We are running the ESA and NASA International Workshop on AI Foundation Model in May. This will be in Huntsville. There will be a dedicated workshop on AI for space at CVPR in June. And we will host in Esrin the Innovation Summit in end of June. The Agentic Artificial Intelligence for EO workshop will be in Germany in October. And in parallel, we will run several challenges, sprints, and grand marathons. So please take a look to all our initiative and on the FILAB website. And this should be actually the last one.
Okay, thank you very much, Giuseppe. So I'll take the second part of this transversal activity, which is called digital enablement. But again, here for people who are long time already with ESA, as said before, we're in the transition phase. So this is Earth Action. So this was called previously digital platforms and digital innovation. And now it goes with digital enablement. I hope it encompasses the term of what it does. So to start with the concept, the idea is that we really go from open science to open innovation. You've seen this slide also in the beginning when Ruben was presenting. So it shows the flow that we want to do in this Earth Action umbrella, going really from science all the way to commercialization. So you can see the different stakeholders there. So we work with scientists. You've seen and you've heard all the opportunities for the science. So we target the scientists. We have the research institutes, which we see as space value adder, and then industrialization and the commercialization. Important to mention here, so as we talked about also integrating end users from the start, is that it's also targeting non-space system integrator, meaning that people and communities and end users which are not used to use Earth observation data are seen as also a very big target of all these applications. So this is also why it's called open science, going from a community Earth science all the way to community with decision-making monitoring, which are not always the ones using the Earth observation. So if we look at the science part, we do have Earth Code. So some of you are already working with it. So it's a reusable science repository for R&D, so under the open science. We do have the Apex, which is the repository for the applications of the R&D, so open source, very important in this part. And then information factories, so there actually had been a call at the end of last year, which are operational usable information products for open innovation. So all this is embedded on the network of resources, the famous NOR, and interoperability of these building blocks. So the idea is to share, collaborate, and execute the environment for the last mile. So also this is linked to the Copernicus data space ecosystem and the national infrastructures. So what this really wants to do is to bring R&D and applications really to the last mile. So enabling the access also. So what are the opportunities for this year? So the core activities is really the evolution of this European network of resources, so this NOR, to really provide services for Earth Action goals for the science community. So the science community, as shown in the slide before, as part of that Earth Code Federation, and then the value-adding community, as the Apex Federation. So this layer is with two major contractual frameworks, so the NOR and one for the interoperability action. So the North Earth Code Federation provides services. It will be the NOR best practice call. The volume here is 2 to 3 million. And the idea is to provide an operational, interoperable platform services for fair open science. So recall I already brought it up. Overall volume 2 to 3 million for algorithm hosting, code quality engineering support, and, for example, reusable workflow management. The second one is for the Apex Federation provider services. Same volume, so 2 to 3 million. And the idea is to provide operational, interoperable platform services to support that on-demand, executable Earth Action information as a service product. So also here, algorithms, performance optimization, algorithm scaling, and processing as a service. And the third part here is the interoperability ramp-up support. So there will be end for the onboarded as use case to interoperability frame contract. So there will be 50 to 100 K per use case, overall volume 2 to 3 million. So it's the use of the ULE-PECA interoperability open source stack to make your platform eligible for this Earth Code for Apex Federation, as you could see before, and really to become a remunerated open source contributor. So to more advance also the framework of these enabling services, as shown in the slide before, these are the following activities for this year for new capabilities. So the first one is a pilot for Earth Code, and we're looking for systematic scientific processing service. So the ITT will come up in the next quarter. It will be 800,000 euro to develop an operational capability, which can have a potential follow-up then from 1.2 million for operational use. So within this science cluster, we have the Verify, really potentially not open science processors, but to really bring them, routinely execute them, and also provide renewed science products. So like a reference analysis ready data collection. Then on the Apex side, we have a pilot on global value adding platform production capability. So the ITT will come up the end of the year. It will be 1 million, and it's to build operational capability with a potential follow-up of 1 million for operational use. So there we see to build a capacity for systematically upscale the R&D results to global level for cost-efficient annual reproduction. So the idea is to showcase this with the International Energy Agency as a stakeholder. And then also there we have the QGIS and the Jupyter GIS extension, so linked to the open science and open source. There will be an ITT the end of the year for 900,000 to enhance the QGIS open source and integrate it with the Jupyter Lab for systematic integration of this Earth Action information as a service product. So available in the Apex, but then also plugged into the information factories into the QGIS ecosystem. And I think that was my last slide, so I think we can take some questions now before going to the next topic.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Inge and Giuseppe. So there is a question from Catherine about the open call. Well, you mentioned the open call as a collaboration opportunity with FILA. Is the plan to reopen this call? Do you know when? Will it have the same conditions as before? I think we may have more information in the slides that are coming later, but perhaps you want to address this.
Well, thanks for the question. We do have a slide later on it, so I prefer we take it at the end.
Okay, very good. In that case, for the moment, we have no further question, but you can, the chat is still open for you to address it, and we'll come back to this, Catherine, later on in the process. So the next transversal element that will be presented coming up is knowledge exchange and capacity building, as well as partners and cooperation, and this will be presented by Benjamin.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Benjamin Lutz. I'm the head of the long-term action section, and I will guide you through the next two chapters, let's say, also with the cooperation of Inge. So knowledge exchange and capacity building, and then the next sector about partnerships and corporations are both essential parts of our Earth Action vision, how to make sure that all these beautiful activities you're seeing or have seen presented will be also having the maximum outreach and uptake in the end by the end users and the community at large. So if we focus here on the knowledge exchange and capacity building, you see here kind of what we call an empowerment path to come from what we have as solutions, and you've seen many of them presented here today, to something which will have eventually a full operational uptake. And you need to go through that 2 different stages. I think many people of you know about that. We need to not only make that available, you need to also make people aware of it. You need to make people understanding how to adapt them, and then finally going to an adoption part. And for that, we do need this kind of capacity building and also making this tool available, and that is the knowledge exchange between different type of user communities and stakeholders. And that is where we'd like to try to focus on this transversal element. And one part what we want to do here in supporting in the New Earth Action procurements, that's the first opportunity we're talking here about in 2026. We want to address this through regional capacity development programs. And here we are focusing on 3 different regions: the Africa, Asia, and Latin American and Caribbean. In the Africa region, EO-Africa is already a long-standing activity. It comes from the 2000s years, so it's like about 20 years old engagement with the continent. But EO-Africa is the one which is ongoing, very much involving the African Union Commission with the new African Space Agency, but also the national space agencies, and very much also engaging with academic and research and development activities and entities in Africa. That has been very successfully and will be extended now for the next years. The same thing we know starting in Asia and Latin America. In all of these 3 activities, we engage with regional and national stakeholders. I could list them if you have questions. In Asia and Latin America, we have also the activities which is co-funded or funded by the DG Encompass. So there is already a very good ground to build on, and we work with the regional and national space agencies as well. All of them are supporting developing training materials, supporting online and in-person training capabilities. There will be research and development kind of tandems, similar to what EO-Africa is already doing, but extended, but also some engagement with the private sector. So that is being now scoped. Each of them have a €4 million budget, and the ITTs are coming out in the second half of 2026. Going further, you have seen we have already a lot of different knowledge management and exchange tools. I just quote the Earth Code, for example, or the Apex. There are different type of activities which are ongoing, and they're very strong for different communities. What we would like here to propose is the Earth Action integrated knowledge management and exchange with the global Earth Action Knowledge Hub. And you see there is kind of building on what is existing, integrating them to have different distinct user communities addressed, but using also the latest type of technology, like with an AI assistant or on consultation rooms. These things will hopefully help us to bring the most efficient kind of access and use of all the different tools and knowledge we are developing. So that is the knowledge hub, and here we invest quite a significant amount of money, €5 million over the next few years. It will come out as well in the probably before the summer still, but Q3 is still possible. additional on the capacity building activities, there's a dedicated science promotion and competence building activity that's really is focusing on the science community. And here there's training material development, trainings, support, also some communication activities, all for making sure that you could use, for example, the Earth Code activities to work together as a science community. So that is an ITT first for 300K, and then it could be followed up by a 600K euros for a full rollout over the next 2 years. I now come to the partners and corporations, and we will take questions at the end of these 2 sections, because I think they're really very much connected, and the questions should be kind of overlapping possibly. So again, partners and cooperation is something which is very at the heart of Earth Action, and we call that the Earth Action readiness for global cooperation. And you see here we structured that into 4 different type of activities to build on all the research and science and tools we be having to make sure that all that capabilities and knowledge is reaching our partners, which are not necessarily space partners. And Rune was saying that in the very beginning, we need to make close cooperations and partnerships work with non-space partners to really bring the impact and scale, which is potentially possible with all our tools and capabilities. But for that, we really want to work through a strategic guidance all the way through technical assistance, and then knowledge and skill transfer in the middle, in the end, which we already just discussed about. Most importantly, we want to work with a kind of a structured approach across the different regions. You've seen already on the capacity development part that is already being put in place. But you see here, the different actors: African Union, CELAC in Latin America, in Southeast Asia, it's the ASEAN countries, in the moment 11 countries being grouped together. But also not forget the national mandated stakeholders. All these we will address through these different elements we see above, and making most use with our multilateral partners. And here you see what was ongoing over the last years, also using the Global Development Assistance, which is now evolved and integrated in the Earth Action concept, and all the different partners from the World Bank down to the Green Climate Fund, for example, or others, which are all very important multiplier partners to make sure that we can leverage all what we have to offer in Earth observation. And finally, I want to mention the Global Gateway with DG INPA, which is also a partner, which is really bringing resources into it. All what I just introduced is building on what you have seen just in the last 2 hours, bringing it to partnerships through Earth Action through partnerships, and that's what we want to support here. Giving you 2 numbers, up to now GDA has leveraged $70 million in capacity building and similar type of activities, and DG INPA has delegated to us 47 million euros to implement on behalf of the Global Gateway Initiative. So a bit more in terms of opportunities. I have introduced the context, but I mean now here this is the real opportunities, and we have been giving you a lot of information. So I'd like to raise your attention a little bit. I would call this the 30 million slides, because that is pretty much what will be here presented. We're investing significant resources to make that work. The strategic guidance and advocacy facility basically will be a 6 million euro ITT coming out in the Q3 time framework. where we work on strategic consultancy with up to 10 partners, and that would be hoping, giving them strategic consultancies. We give them the possibility also possibly hosting a resource person in their own facilities, helping to develop their own programming, which are not space programming, to integrate Earth observation and into their own planning of their resources. So that is the strategic part. And then there's a more technical assistant foreseen, which is really working with similar partners, but not necessarily the same, to help them on an ad hoc level to integrate the different solutions into their operations. That can be national, but it can be also regional scale type of partners, where we want to have a whole pool of Earth observation experts standing ready to support them in a very timely level. And here we also think about quite some resources, 10 million euros, but it's a large framework contract for engaging and activating a pool of Earth observation experts. Next, similarly, what we have done in the Global Development Assistance, we would like to support the co-development and mainstreaming of Earth observation capabilities to respond to these partners' long-term demand. In principle, we would like to address 12 thematic sectors, but eventually in 2026, we're focusing on the more, on only 2 sectors. First, energy, because there's a high demand in the moment. And secondly, the very impactful but unfortunate sector of poverty, fragility, and disaster, which are very much connected. And these both will have ITTs coming out in Q3 and Q4 for 2 million euros each. The next point was already addressed, basically, but it's part of this action readiness concept. These capacity building parts, but we have already talked about it. It's just a repetition here. A short outlook. These public goods in 27 might will address other additional thematic sectors, but that is fully pending what will be discussed in and approved by member states in the Earth Action Work Plans upcoming. So this is just an outlook and possibility. But I wanted to raise your attention on what we do also in alignment with our partnerships. So the Global Gateway part here, ongoing with DG INPA. We are started the 1st of January, a South Asia action. So that is including 7 countries in South Asia, like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, just to mention a few, together with a coalition of disaster resilient infrastructures. And there are 2 new ITTs coming out. And I mentioned that because it showcase very much how we can align our resources with our ESA Earth Action funding. And that is part of our vision, how Earth Action can be leveraged and scaled. There's one on stakeholder engagement, and the other one is very much about EU service co-development, very focusing on climate adaptation and disaster risk management. I will be very fast on the next few points. This is the future. We are working on additional actions with DG INPA, which would bring our engagement with them up to about 100 million. There is, in terms of partnership, further also, we should mention our cooperation across the different European Commission entities. So you see, we work very much together with DG RTD. That's in the hands of Diego Fernandez. He has been developing that since several years now to have the cooperation with the science programs on their side to align their different activities. So the ESA activities are being even more leveraged than before. And you see there's the strategic research innovation agenda being used to align the activities. We just talked about the DG INPA partnership. We're trying to structure that and bring this even more to strategic level. That's ongoing activity, but then there's also DG DEFIS engagement, obviously beyond the Copernicus. The rapid action for citizens was started during the COVID time, but now is ongoing already for quite some time to raise the awareness of Copernicus investments. And finally, and not at least, we have collaborations with a long range of policy director generals from the European Commission. You read them here. I would like to highlight DG Klima, where there's even a secondi of ESA being placed to very much mainstream and integrate our activities into their thinking and their planning. And there's even joint calls being designed so Earth observation gets into Klima. But I mean, DG and Agri, statistics, Mare, all of them are very much involved in it. Very good. With that, I think I can close and hand over to Inge.
Thanks a lot, Ben. And I have a few last slides also to make some publicity on some of the work and collaborations we do with partners. So one thing I want to mention, as you have recalled for people who followed this webinar from the beginning, there was quite a topic on enabling policies. And in that framework, and also linked to the main idea of Earth Action, of really having the active involvement of end users from the start, is this integrated policy expert scheme. It's newish because it was launched in 2024, but new in the sense that we're still having some practical hiccups from here and there. So we're starting to implement it. So here's the link. The main idea is to have an integration into the ESA team so that we do have policy people really embedded in the ESA facility. So to co-work on joint projects. So really to have a collaboration. It starts from 4 months to 2 years. And then the idea is to really on a mutual agreement. So the people remain in their host institution, but then ESA assumes the covering the additional cost. So this is also the email to contact. And so who we target is really all kind of policy experts from international and European organizations, national, regional, local entities, multilateral conventions, civil society, and indigenous society. So we really see this as a mutual benefit. So to have a synergic action on a specific project rather than only having the community-based involvement or through TO involvement in a project, but really co-work in the same space. So it would be hosted then in Ezrin, but we're looking maybe also to open it up in other establishments. And then finally, and there was already a question on it, and we do get a lot of questions on it because this is a very popular mechanism, also by member states, and I know also by the community. So I know a lot of you is very interested in this. So the Earth Action Open Call. So the scope, so before it was in block 4, now it's really on departmental call. So it means that it really covers all elements of Earth Action. So this is the whole pillar 3 of FutureEO. And the core of activity is really innovation. So innovative Earth observation data exploitation. So the implementation will be a single proposal type. We foresee hopefully 3 submission batches per year. And as I said, it was extremely successful. So for the 2026-2028, we foresee a total of fewer than 100 contracts. So certain of the batches may include priority focus to complement the generic block 4 scope, as you might recall for people who applied to this call. So for example, new sensor availability, response to time limit issues, and so forth. One of the reasons why I guess this is also so popular is that there's very rapid communication to unsuccessful bidders and also an improved debriefing. So with a limited number of resubmissions. And there's no requirement for national delegations to provide letters of support. So the financial aspects we're looking at is a maximum value of €250,000. There's no geographic return constraints for the ESA member states. And so the famous question on when will this call be opened, I can simply say also that because it's such a popular instrument, and as you've seen in the last 2 hours and a half, the amount of activities we foresee with you, with science and industry, we also have to reshape the way we work, because of the popularity of this mechanism, we're actually looking into a more efficient way to organize ourselves. And this is why there's some delay in having the first call. But the first call should be open before summer of this year. So I hope this answered the question we had earlier in the chat. So with this, I think I'll leave it here. And I don't know if maybe Rune wants to come in to give a final say before we go to the Q&As.
I was thinking that we do the Q&A to Ben and this last part first, and then you do
Okay,
the part at the end.
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So I give the floor to Maria Piera.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Inge and Ben. So this was the last presentation. So we'll now move to the Q&A. We will start with the questions that are related to the last two topics, and then we will go back as quickly as possible also to the remaining ones. So first of all, a question to you, Ben, from Veronique. Will there be new ESA GDA projects in 2026 and 2027, and which will be the teams?
Okay, thanks for that question. So first, GDA is now integrated in Earth Action, so that there will be no new GDA activities. There is still GDA as a program, kind of continuing until 27. But I mean, there is no new calls dedicated for GDA. In Earth Action, you have seen now we have kind of integrated the lessons learned and the things which have been working very nicely in GDA in the Earth Action context. That is saying that we continue, but we also extend type of activities on GDA. I think your question was very much focused on the type of thematic activities we have been supporting under GDA. And there the answer is basically what I was presenting for 26. There is the energy sector foreseen, and the poverty, fragility, and disaster sectors too, which are grouped into one. So two kind of thematic projects under Earth Action addressing the typical partners we had under GDA.
Perfect, thanks a lot. I'll follow up with the questions that are focused on each topic. So a question from Christina. Are strategic partners sampled across all type of institutions, or are you targeting specific size and type? It's to you.
It's to me. It's to me. Just so it's yes, strategic partners. I mean, I have not listed them all in detail, but I mean, we focus, since we're going outside of Europe, we focus on the development cooperation type of partners, which are multiplying our efforts. That's the one part, so the international finance institutions, but also, for example, the Green Climate Fund and other type of climate financing funding organization. But we bring on the regional level also the different regional mandated organization in there, and most importantly, the national one. And that is giving a different type of sizing and types coming into the game. And we going from GDA to Earth Action, so it's not only going to be the financial institutions. So that is something we need to do step by step. We need to work that out how that works best. But that is a very integrated approach what we are trying to follow here. So I cannot give you a final answer on that, but the message is we're flexible in the types of partners.
Thanks a lot. So this was on this question. And then finally, a clarification from Claire. Is there scope for working with global partners other than those on the list of mandated national and regional stakeholders?
So I think almost covered that on my last answer already. Yes, there is scope for that. I could mention here, for example, the UN South-South cooperation. Well, it's an organization which is working across from South-South corporations. That is a global partner. We just onboarded recently, but the UNDP is another one we're talking in the moment. But I mean, also UNEP, other UN FAO we have since many years. Stole Inge from FAO. So I mean, that is already very much ongoing partnership. So yes, global partners are and will be very much in the focus.
Thanks a lot. So for the time being, that's all of the questions, Spence. you can breathe. We have, I'm going backwards. We have a question from Eirini. Is there an established timeline for when the Simul Earth extremes and geo-asset outputs will be published? So perhaps, Diego, you want to very briefly mention that, answer to this? Otherwise, I can do it because I have the answer. This will be likely at the end of the year, so in the latter part of the year. Okay, so we also have a question from Nino on the digital enablement. So Gunther, this is for you. It is not clear to me the difference between different opportunities, so the North Earth Core provider services and the Earth Core private systematic scientific processing service. So Gunther Landgraf, perhaps you can help us here.
Yes, with pleasure. So I think the Earth Code services are to support the science community, to help them to have the scientific workflows operated on the cloud, executed on the cloud in a way that can share them and that it remains available for the future for other scientists. There was quite an extensive presentation at the Network of Resources Orientation Workshop in March. You can find that for sure in the Network of Resources Community Forum, or otherwise I will let it have to you. So these services are, I mean, the support that the scientists may need is engineering support to get their workflows reusable, executable, scaled, the code quality so that really someone else can use that, and generally all type of aspects to have their workflow hosted on the cloud. And in particular, we support 3 specific interoperable environments, which is the OpenEO, the OGC application package, and all of the Python Pangeo stack, so Jupyter Hub and these kind of things. As Inge presented, for the providers that do not support any of these 3 stacks, they can be onboarded as a use case in our interoperability framework to get qualified for at least one of these stacks. So we would assume that this kind of services providers are more or less ready to provide them today. The other aspect, the other thing, the systematic processing service is something that we hope will be a new service that the industry can provide to the science community in the future. And it is about our science projects, usually for one specific scientific product. They cover 1 year. Yeah, and there is for the Earth system science, of course, a need to create time series of that. So there's much more value to monitor how the Earth system develops if then we produce this regularly. And this is, let's say, a service that we would like industry to provide for us, to the science community. And this ITT, this new project, is about to building this up. So this is a new capability that we would like industry to provide to the science community to generate time series of specific scientific products.
Thank you very much, Gunther. I will now just address one question from the morning and then move to the most recent one. So we had a question from Catherine that we couldn't address this morning about the Arctic. Do you foresee any calls addressing the science questions relating to the Arctic? So far, the poll calls mentioned only addresses the Antarctic. I know that we will have several people trying to address this question. Perhaps we can start with you, Rune, if you want to just introduce this very quickly, and then we will move to Diego and Clément.
Okay, so I just wanted to state here up front that the fact that we mentioned specifically the Antarctic doesn't mean that we are forgetting about the Arctic. On the contrary, we are really working strongly on a very focused preparation of activities for the Arctic, including even the potential of a center specifically targeting space for the Arctic region to be established in the coming years. So my colleagues, Diego, Clément, and so on, will answer in detail on the science content, but I just want to highlight that there is a lot more coming regarding the Arctic. Diego, maybe you want to continue?
No, just to confirm that even if the ITTs that we prepare for this year will be focused on Antarctica, the next ones in 27 will be focused on the Arctic specifically. We will have in September a polar meeting. We will invite all the community to discuss with us priorities, and as part of that, we will identify what could be the main topics to be somehow brought together to the ITTs of 27 on the Arctic specifically.
Thanks both. Same answer here. Brief answer is yes, and several cryosphere-related activity under the climate activity in Earth Action. We look at both Arctic and Antarctic. If you look at sea ice or ice sheet, for example. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Clément. Perhaps Torsten, you also wanted to add something?
Yes, so we have also in addition set up with our colleagues at FMI a super site for science cabal activities in Sudankula recently. And also this is an opportunity for the science community to basically use this as an infrastructure also for their purposes.
Brilliant. So lots coming up for the Arctic. The next question is a bit more generic, and this is from Guy from RSS Hydro. When I was in the US working on NASA projects, they had and still have an Earth Action program under NASA EST and Todd Buckner. Is there any reason for the same name? Is it ESA actually finally working on a joint program on EO innovation with NASA, which would be fantastic? And Rune, this is for you.
Yes, so thanks for the question. Believe it or not, the concept of the NASA strategy for science to Earth action or science to action strategy and our Earth action philosophy, they were developed in parallel, but quite largely independent of each other. So at the same time, both the two major space agencies saw the need to establish such an activity line. And then when we were presenting that and we were talking about that, because that's what we do, I mean, we are good friends with our colleagues in the Earth Science Division and we meet regularly. We, of course, recognize that not only is the name very similar, but also the content, the scope, and the target of these activities are very similar. So we have intensified the collaboration in this domain. So in the applications, in the services that we work on to enable positive action for the planet, we now also have a regular coordination. That does not mean, by the way, that that is the same program and that we are programmatically sort of intertwined or even having dependencies. But I can promise you that we have a regular dialogue on this topic and that this will continue as we continue to develop also the Earth Action concept.
Thanks a lot, Rune. We have another question from Alex regarding the second phase of the Africa-EU Space Partnership Program. Do you already have an idea of targeted thematic sectors or countries of interest for this phase? So Ben?
Yeah, thank you for that question. And we are in very close exchange with DG INPA on that design of the next phase. Just as a background, there is a 55 million second phase already foreseen. So the funding is available. It will be implemented across ESA, EUMETSAT, ESA-WF, and the African Union. But I'm not at liberty to give you much more details in this moment. Beyond that, we agreed already that it will be very much at the interface between like kind of mature services going into something which is supporting long-term uptake and investment. So that is, it's not going to be a lot about new things. It's about something to actually to roll out. No, but I cannot say much about topics and countries in the moment. We do have an ongoing discussion, but it's not the right moment for that. So we will bring this in September to program board. So at that point of time, there will be more information available.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Ben. So we've now actually moved into the Q&A session. So if you want to raise a final question on any of the topics or in general about Info Day or Earth Action, please do so in the remaining minutes. And in the meantime, I wanted also to ask the speakers and Rune if you wanted to add anything to what presented.
Well, I prefer the remaining questions first, and then we can see what needs to be added. Yeah.
Okay, so at the moment we have addressed all of the questions. So if you want to raise one, it's really the time to do it. We have a little bit of time, so please feel free, don't be shy. If you want to know more about any of the opportunities or any of the plenty of topics that was presented earlier. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Let's just give this one.
I see there's
Okay, thanks. We have a question from Johannes. How can I find the mentioned ITTs between all the industrial ITTs on ESA Star? So Inge, I will turn this to you.
Yes. So thanks for the question. We realize it's a lot of information, also indicating the amount of activities we have and we do. So actually there's two ways. Indeed, in ESA Star, you will find all of ESA. For these specific ones, as we mentioned, they will be all available on the Earth Action website. But for the moment being, there's a website called EO for Society. And so there's a section on opportunities. And so all the upcoming NITTs are grouped there. So we foresee for the Earth Action ones, we're going to group all of them on the website. So it will be easy for you to have access. Now, the other thing you can also do, and I want to mention it here, is that we have an RSS feed. So if you want to be always notified about new opportunities, please enroll. So then you will be always up to date. Thanks, Piero.
Thanks a lot. We have another question from Boglarka. Can you share more details about the advanced water management project in Central Europe? Diego, if you... Gordon.
Yeah, so this is following on from a Pathfinder that's going on just now. So that's looking at prototype capabilities and user requirements consolidation, and that will be made available within the next 2 to 3 months.
Thanks a lot, Gordon. We'll still leave you a few minutes to text your questions if you have any.
So maybe in the meanwhile, regarding that question on how can you be notified when it will be opened. So as Clément mentioned, so you can also register on ESA Star and then you create an alert. And so when then the call is open, you do get an alert on that.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions from Beatrice. On the list of the global EU public goods sector, it is stated that 12 thematics, but I can only count 9 unless they are separated ones, or are there additional ones not listed here? Ben.
Thanks, that's a very easy one. Yes, I also can count, but yes, we group them. That's why we go up to 9. And so yes, it's a bit confusing. My apologies. We group them by topics, so we can make them more impactful and also more efficient to be implemented. Thanks for the question.
So thanks a lot, Beatrice. And we have another one from Thomas. Thanks for the presentations, very useful. As part of the partnership with DG Impact, is there any ESA involvement foreseen in the EU Global Gateway early stage investments mechanism? Thank you. For you, Ben.
I see people are following closely what is happening in Global Gateway. And indeed, there is a lot of opportunities out there. Not in everything ESA is directly involved, but we are very much aware of this early stage investment mechanism. And one of the ideas, is particular, for example, in the African EU Space Partnership Program, is that we work together with African and matchmaking Europeans so they can actually be ready to apply for these kind of mechanisms. And the second stage the second phase, which I just answered the question on, would be also probably having strong links to that. So yes, we are helping to facilitate preparation and engagement with that, but we're not directly involved in this early stage investment. I just cannot only advise everybody to have a look at it anyhow, because it's very interesting tools there.
So thanks a lot, Thomas. We'll still give you a couple of minutes to type your questions. And also a reminder, you can still book B2B slots, as you can see in the chat, where there is a link to the B2B slot kindly sent by Sabrina Lodadio. So if you haven't done it and if you want to know more and talk to the experts on each topic, you can still do it and talk to them this afternoon. Okay, so you will still have the opportunities to get to know the topics and speak with each presenter and each expert in detail at the B2B. So thank you very much for following this session and for your interest and for your questions. We will now proceed to wrap up the morning session. So Rune, giving you the floor.
Yes, so first of all, from all of us at ESA, a very big thank you to the several hundred people who have participated in this morning's information day. We are very happy to see, let's say, first of all, massive interest, very intelligent and focused questions, and good focus on the activities that we are proposing, and that promises very nicely for the future. I'd like to highlight that what we have presented here are the opportunities mainly for the year 2026 only. So we are having a formal process with the member states that are funding us, where we will discuss the strategic progress of the Earth Action pillar before the end of the year. And of course, there is also a process whereby we need approval for the work plan ideas also for the subsequent years. So we will have info days also for subsequent years, where we will be able to build on what we have seen here, what we have set in motion, and how to carry all of that further. Another thing is, there's been a recurring question. Yes, we will share all the information from this meeting. So all of you who participated, everyone who has registered will have access to this information. On top, we will communicate and continue to communicate on these opportunities with the community on the relevant web channels that we are using. We are also in the process of introducing better, if you will, the Earth Action narrative more strategically also into the communication and outreach approach. So you will see in gradual evolution of the Earth Action, let's say, domain under ESA.int, where we will start communicating with these things as well. And not to be forgotten is, of course, that the official mechanism for doing business with ESA through ESA Star is something that is required for all of you to be aware of. We have placed an introductory video on that for those who are new to doing business with the agency, also on the meeting page for the present event. But there are tools and solutions available also from ESA Corporate to support in this process. So this is the beginning of the dialogue with all of you for Earth Action. We will continue to talk in all of the events, in the workshops, in the co-design, co-development type of discussions that we will be having, and for sure in the context of the projects and the procurements that we will be doing and the activities that we will carry out together. That, I think, brings me to the end of this morning, which means that we will take a break now, between now and 2 o'clock, when the B2B meetings, also called speed dates with the program managers and people behind the specific activities, will start. And I encourage every one of you to ask all the questions that you may have specifically to the upcoming opportunities in those occasions. And as was just stated, there might still be 1 or 2 options left for those discussions, for those who have questions at the end of all of that. With this, I'd like to thank everyone for the plenary session here online. I think the forum worked very well. And again, thanks a lot. And we look forward to continuing this dialogue and doing business with all of you. Thank you very much, and see you soon. It was not okay, fine. But I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah. We're being recorded in the practice sessions.